And it's only fitting that we go into our next speaker, which is Kimosop. He's the CEO and co-founder of Ecobodaa, and he's going to be chatting about the electric motorbike revolution and how to get there. How cool is your background?
Yeah, I borrowed some of your graphics.
That is really, really cool. Is that in your offices?
No, we're working from home now, so
That's
you can
beautiful.
hear
All
me.
right. Well, yes, I can, Kimosop. All right. Well, I'm going to leave you to it. Your presentation on the electric motorbike revolution and how to get there.
Okay, so my name is Kim Chepkoit, and I am the founder and CEO of Ecobodaa. We are based in Nairobi, Kenya. So we are going to look into Africa's electric motorbike revolution and how to get there. First, we need to look at the motorcycle usage overview in Kenya. So, because this is the industry where we operate, so we have some statistics about how the motorcycles are being used here, and over 80% of the motorcycles being purchased are being used as for motorcycle taxis and delivery services. The remaining is for private use. Why is this important for us to look at this overview? Because if we're going to start electrification of the motorcycles, we need to look at the places where we will have the biggest impact. And for us, we think starting with the motorcycle taxis and the deliveries is where we're going to make a huge impact. So just some figures from Kenya. In Kenya, we have around 1.5 million motorcycle taxis. They make 22 million trips per day. This is equivalent to like ferrying half the country in a day. And the annual spend on fuel is $1.5 billion. For us, we look at this as the battery swap economy. And of course, we all know that the motorcycles are one of the biggest polluters, especially because of the numbers and also the kind of technology that goes into making the engines are not that efficient like those of the motor vehicles. So one of the things that we look at so that we are able to see how to electrify these motorcycles is the operational setup. How do they operate? In Kenya, the motorcycles, they take short trips, mostly 2 to 10 kilometers per trip, and they are on predetermined routes. What's the importance of this? It's because we use battery swaps, and for us, it makes it very easy to position our swap stations along these routes, as opposed to a private user who might go on their private, they can travel wherever they want. But for the motorcycle taxi riders, they have predetermined routes and they operate there 90% of the time. The pickup points are along main roads. This also makes it easy for positioning the swap stations, and they are regulated by local authorities, which means that if we're going to start this conversation of electrification, which we have, it's easy to approach it from the local authority level, where they can come up with policies and such. So how do we accelerate now that we've seen the industry overview and we know how they operate, we have the numbers? How do we go about it? So we have a very common model called the 3Cs model. You approach from the countries, cities, and companies, have them as stakeholders in the electrification process. And one of the flaws of this of this model is that it assumes that the automakers already have these bikes ready and tailor-made for the African market. This is not the case. Um, this could work for European countries or Indian countries or India or Asia, where they already have that kind of technology and they have structures in place. But for Africa, we need to move into the S and the 3Cs model, where we work with the local startups with alongside the countries, cities, and mostly freight companies, because we've seen that this is where the bulk of the motorcycles go, into the taxis and into the freight companies. So what role does the startups play for us? They solve, the startups play a very important role in terms of external readiness. They provide the local knowledge needed in doing studies and understanding consumer behavior and preferences. They also do consumer education in terms of managing the e-bike, dealing with battery range anxiety and such. And also we don't have to wait for say Chinese car manufacturers or Indian car manufacturers to come and build the infrastructure for us. This also improves on the issue of critical mass, whereas we would have to wait to maybe say 5 years from now, where we will have maybe say 2% of the population being very eager to have e-bikes. We could start locally with 100 bikes, 200 bikes, because it would not cost much, since a startup, we have a local startup in our countries, in African countries. So what does it take in terms of internal readiness? You need to invest very much in R&D and thorough product testing. This is because we don't want to bring, as startups, we don't want to bring an inferior product into the market that will make people now say, no, it seems these electric motorcycles aren't working, they are not at par with the ICE models. And I think this is something we saw here in Kenya way back in 2004, when the solar revolution kind of started. We had some, inferior water heating solar panels installed in some households around the city, and they kind of broke. They got damaged, or they got faulty within less than 3 years, and this kind of set back the industry, because people were like, no, we don't like this, it's not working. So it took a lot of time, and that's what we don't want that to happen to the e-motorcycle industry. Local manufacturing and assemblies will help us develop the expertise as much as, and also, provide jobs and such. We also need to come up with innovative go-to-market strategies for the adoption of the electric two-wheelers. Case in point for us is the Ecobodaa, which we're based in Nairobi, Kenya. And it's very common to have a lease model. So we provide a pay as you ride model for the riders for less than $4 a day. Provide medical insurance for riders and passengers. We have a secure and connected platform for the motorcycles and so. So what role does the countries play? The countries, of course, have, most of them, I think, signed up for the Paris Agreement, so they have the national determined contributions, and it's now time for them to develop national electric mobility task forces. This will develop the the adoption policies, also offer motorcycle registration tax reliefs, incentives for local assemblers, push cities to create emission-free zones. This also switch to green fleets, say, for like forestry services and health services costs. Well, it's quite ironic when you are doing forest inspections and you're using one of the biggest polluters. So they can start from there. And what roles do cities play? For them, since most of the transport policies are local and they can really help in creating emission-free zones, switch to green fleets, tax, parking, and such incentives for the E2-wheelers. And also, they could operate and build charging or swap infrastructure to reduce investment costs for startups and also help in adoption by reducing the range anxiety. Now we come to the last one of the critical components of adoption, which is the freight companies. And for them, really, the industry is very competitive, and it's a small. They make small margins, so they need a new product, and also for them to have investor confidence, they need to change the product which they give their riders. Most of them don't own the motorcycles, but they have a choice on what the riders use in their businesses. So they can sign up riders with e-motorcycles only, incentivize riders who are already on their platform to switch to e-motorcycles, by say increasing their commissions and such. They could also partner with startups like ours and share the kind of data that they have, which will be very critical in uh, developing a more superior product. Thank you.
We do
Yeah.
have some questions coming through. Here's one from Louise. She asks, what is the lifespan of the batteries that you use? And what happens to them at the end of the lifespan?
Yeah, so right now the batteries that we use are the lithium-ion batteries, and they have a lifespan of up to 900 cycles, considering we charge them once in a day. So that's 3 years. And what happens to them after their lifespan is we are looking into, making low-cost battery power banks for, say, school kids and such. So it's something which is progressive. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And we have another question here come from Samson. Are there regulatory, sorry, it's just gone off the screen. Solomon, there we go. Do you guys convert normal bikes to EV bikes? And if so, what is the cost?
But as Ecobodaa, we don't do that at the moment because, well, why wouldn't we build a purely electric motorbike? We don't want to do the conversions because that's like having the riders buy two engines, right?
Yep.
So we want to build from the ground up. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And good luck. I know a lot of people will come and see you in one of the networking sessions as well. So thank you so much, Kim.